The National Desk, America's News Now.
Now, former President Donald Trump claims he's being targeted again. Why the 2024 presidential candidate says he's at the center of another criminal investigation and how the hard right is reacting.
It's an embarrassment on the world stage. If this is the direction America is going in, we are worse than Russia. We are worse than China.
Then record-breaking heat in the Southwest. The alert's in effect right now as one tourist destination thrives.
We're just having a good time in the hottest place right now. Like, it keeps getting hotter and it's great.
And a wrong diagnosis could be deadly. The new report highlighting how often doctors are wrong. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Eugene Ramirez. Another criminal indictment against Donald Trump could be coming within a matter of days. The former president announcing on his app Truth Social that he is the subject of another special counsel investigation, writing, quote, deranged Jack Smith, the prosecutor with Joe Biden's DOJ, sent a letter stating I am the target of the January 6th grand jury investigation and giving me a very short 4 days to report to the grand jury, which almost always means an arrest and indictment, end quote. Now, if that timing is accurate, Trump could be called before the jury Thursday. He goes on to criticize the efforts to indict him, again calling it all a political witch hunt, something House Speaker Kevin McCarthy echoed in comments earlier today.
President Trump went up in the polls and was actually surpassing President Biden for re-election. So what do they do now? Weaponize government to go after their number one opponent. It's time and time again. I think the American public is tired of this. They want to see equal justice, and the idea that they utilize this to go after those who politically disagree with them is wrong.
Now, dozens of witnesses, including former Vice President Mike Pence, have testified before this grand jury over the past several months. Democrat Congressman Pete Aguilar thanked the special counsel for connecting the dots that the House January 6th committee was unable to.
There were some tools that could be utilized only by the Department of Justice that were not available to us in our select committee. So we're appreciative of the work of the Department of Justice and their focus on staying true to finding the facts and holding people accountable.
In other Trump trouble in Florida, federal judge Eileen Cannon oversaw the first pretrial hearing in Trump's criminal case regarding those documents discovered at Mar-a-Lago. The attorneys discussed procedural motions and how they will handle all the public interest while dealing with classified materials that may be presented in court as evidence. While no date has been set for this trial, Judge Cannon indicated a mid-December start would be too soon, but she wouldn't push the trial past November 2024. Happening today, large areas of the country still baking under some extreme temperatures. This heat wave continues right now. More than 100 million Americans under heat alerts today from California through Florida. The National Weather Service urging people in the affected areas to stay inside and drink plenty of water. Now, this heat will continue this week in many places. You see them there, March, along the map there. It's expected to get worse along the Gulf Coast and in the southeast as well. Phoenix, Arizona, breaking a record for major U.S. cities today. 19 straight days reaching at least 110 degrees there. The city also recorded its highest overnight low temperature ever last night, 95 degrees, topping the 2009 record of 93 degrees. Again, that's the low. And California's Death Valley, already known as the hottest place on earth in the summer, now drawing tourists who say they want to experience the heat.
Whenever there's a buzz about record-breaking temps, we do see people, again, just flocking to this place.
It's hot, but that's why we're here. It's like, well, why? Go in July. If we're going to experience the hottest place on earth, let's experience it.
Now, the temperatures there come with some safety concerns. Park rangers say 1 to 3 people die from heat-related illnesses every year. Developing now in Pennsylvania, the desperate search continuing for 2 missing children who were swept away in a flood that killed their mother and 4 others. Several roads have been closed as crews used drones, dogs, sonar, and some other tools to search for 9-month-old Conrad and 2-year-old Maddie Shields. The family was visiting from South Carolina when they got stuck in a flash flood over the weekend. The father, his 4-year-old son, and a grandmother survived. Officials say they've searched the entire flood zone multiple times looking for the 2 young children. And if they don't find them today, their focus will shift to a dive rescue operation. The Canadian wildfire smoke still impacting many parts of the United States, including most of the East Coast. and some states in the northern, central, and southern U.S. More than 60 million Americans woke up to air quality alerts today. That's not as bad as it was last month in places like New York City and Washington, D.C., but the smoke still posing a health risk. The Northeast is expected to get some relief tomorrow. Following some breaking news now, the Attorney General of Michigan filing felony charges against 16 Republicans who acted as fake electors in support of candidate Donald Trump in 2020. Among those charged are Republican National Committee woman Kathy Burden and former co-chair of the Michigan Republican Party, Michonne Maddock. We'll let you know as soon as we have more information on that. Now, Republicans on Capitol Hill continue to build their case against Hunter Biden, looking into his foreign business dealings and whether his father, Joe Biden, the president, may have played a role. National correspondent Christine Frizzell reports.
Previous allegations from whistleblowers involved in the Hunter Biden investigation have now been confirmed by the FBI supervisor in charge that both the Secret Service and members of the Biden transition team were tipped off in advance by the FBI. Agents were told to wait outside his residence, instructed not to approach Hunter Biden, and as a result, never interviewed him. Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer billing the upcoming hearing as a way for Americans to hear the truth.
In the form of bank statements and bank records and bank violations, emails, text messages, things like that, things we call evidence.
Previously released bank records show Hunter Biden made millions from companies overseas, some with ties to the Chinese Communist Party, others from Russia, plus the Ukrainian energy company Burisma. While he already reached a deal to plead guilty to 2 lower-level tax crimes, House Republicans argue there were more major crimes committed, plus the engagement of several family members in what they call a cover-up.
They really did set up a myriad of dozens of LLCs through which to flow the money. And it was clearly designed to obscure the fact that money coming from overseas.
Democrats and the White House argue it's all a political stunt to try to divert attention from the legal troubles of former President Trump.
They're acting as his defense attorney, his campaign operative, and everything in between.
As Republicans maintain, their findings show a business built on selling access to Joe Biden while he served as vice president.
The larger question, of course, is did Joe Biden personally profit from these deals? And if that's the case, look out. We have got a massive scandal that is about to explode in Washington, D.C.
So tomorrow's House Oversight Committee hearing will feature 2 witnesses. One is IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley, who we've heard from before in television interviews. The other is a whistleblower who has never gone public before. Eugene?
We'll see what that's about. But Christine, help us understand what this alleged Joe Biden connection is.
So the accusations are not only that Joe Biden, as vice president, knew about his son's business dealings, perhaps even helped him along with them, which he said he hasn't, but that the current Department of Justice, which as president Joe Biden sort of oversees, that it has given preferential treatment to Hunter Biden in ways that these whistleblowers say is unprecedented.
Meantime, the prosecutor overseeing the case appointed by President Trump says the Justice Department didn't interfere. So different side of that story there. Christine Frizzell in Washington. Thank you so much. Following breaking news now, Las Vegas authorities announcing today they have served a warrant in connection to the 1996 murder of rapper and actor Tupac Shakur. Now, no arrests have been made, but big developments in a 27-year-old case. We'll stay on top of this for you. New tonight, the Illinois State Supreme Court saying it is constitutional for the state to end cash bail for criminal defendants. Proponents for the law claim cash bail created a 2-tiered system, allowing wealthier defendants a way to buy themselves out of jail while they wait trial. Now, the program will go into effect mid-September. The Bullhorn lady is going to jail. Rachel Powell, she's a January 6 rioter, convicted on 9 federal charges, including multiple felonies stemming from her actions that day. Powell has been called the nickname because she used a megaphone to guide other rioters as they breached the Capitol building. The District of Columbia's Attorney General has filed lawsuits against 25 chemical companies, including 3M and DuPont, for allegedly hiding the negative effects of forever chemicals known as PFAS in their products. The Office of the Attorney General is seeking damages to cover the cost to investigate and clean up PFAS in the district's natural resources, waterways, drinking water, and also some punitive damages included there as well. President Biden met with the president of Israel at the White House today, honoring the 75th anniversary of Israel's founding. Now, this meeting comes a day after Biden invited Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the United States. It also comes as U.S. officials have voiced concerns over Israel's planned judicial reforms and its settlement construction in the West Bank. But President Isaac Herzog spoke of the unbreakable bond the allies have.
There are some enemies of ours that sometimes mistaken the fact that we may have some differences as impacting our unbreakable bond. And I truly believe that had they known how much our cooperation has grown in recent years and it's achieved new heights, they would not think that way.
Now, while they met, House Republicans held a debate over a resolution to express the sense of Congress's support for Israel. The largely symbolic resolution was issued just yesterday in response to comments by Democrat Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal from over the weekend in which she called Israel a racist state. Her comments were rebuked by fellow Democrats before she then apologized for misspeaking Sunday. The U.S. and China held in-person talks on climate change for the first time in nearly a year. U.S. climate envoy John Kerry met with China's top diplomat Wang Yi in Beijing today. Kerry told him that both countries have suffered from lack of communication and that renewed dialogue can help solve problems. China had suspended such talks after former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, you'll remember. Coming up here on the National Desk, a concerning new study out of Johns Hopkins revealing the widespread impact of inaccurate medical diagnoses. Then certain appliances will get new labels to help protect consumers, how they'll work, and when they're rolling out. And the new steps the White House is taking to combat the opioid crisis and address addiction. We're back in 90 seconds. Listen to this troubling new study just issued by Johns Hopkins medical experts. 795,000 Americans across all clinical settings die or are permanently disabled because of misdiagnoses each year. The report identified vascular events, infections, and cancer as the biggest problem, accounting for 75% of the issues. The number one misdiagnosed disorder was a stroke, which was missed nearly 18% of the time due to symptoms being associated with some other conditions. New numbers show Americans are spending more despite ongoing concerns over inflation, even though that's dropping. The Commerce Department says shopping at U.S. retailers increased 0.2% from May to June, slightly lower than what economists expected. In April to May, that number was 0.5%. Now, if you exclude things like gas, cars, and food and retail sales, they were better than May. J.P. Morgan Chase and other economists say they're adjusting their forecast for a lower chance of a recession in the near future. The Biden administration launching a new program to put a nationwide certification label on smart home appliances. It's all to help consumers choose connected devices that are less vulnerable to online hacking. The new U.S. Cyber Trust Mark is similar to that Energy Star rating program that you've seen on appliances for their efficiency. The FCC is launching a rulemaking process to set the standards for this, and consumers should expect to see industry-wide rollouts in January of 2024. Meantime, House Republicans believe the administration's move to make kitchen appliances greener is just more government overreach. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joins us now from the Capitol Hill with both sides of the aisle claiming their view on regulations will save Americans money.
Capitol Hill lawmakers turning up the heat on the gas stove debate.
Gas stoves are not going to disappear. We thought we were free in America until we met you folks.
On Tuesday, a House Oversight Subcommittee scrutinizing new regulations proposed by the Department of Energy to make home appliances energy efficient.
A gas stove rule, a dishwasher rule, a washing machine rule, a clothes dryer rule, a general service lamp or light bulb rule, a refrigerator rule.
I don't know why anyone on the committee here is against innovation.
Republicans say the regulations are expensive and burdensome to consumers.
I'm glad the Department of Energy is saving everybody a bunch of money by forcing them to spend a bunch of money.
Doubling down on their view, government regulators have no place in American kitchens.
I haven't seen anything from a regulatory standpoint come out of the Biden administration that's been beneficial to consumers.
Some Democrats argued the push for energy-efficient appliances will save Americans money and protect the environment.
The climate crisis is here, and it is very, very real. This hearing is Republicans playing defense for big oil and gas,
claiming Republicans are misunderstanding the policy.
The Biden-Harris administration is not banning gas stoves, nor is it leading a conspiracy to regulate your appliances out of existence.
At the state level, New York becoming the first in the nation to ban gas stoves in new buildings with legislation earlier this year. Polling shows Americans on both sides of the aisle would like to keep their gas stoves. Data gathered by Harvard Capps Harris finding 69% of voters oppose any rule eliminating or phasing out gas stoves. A bipartisan spending bill being hashed out by the Senate would also prevent bans and regulations on appliances such as gas stoves. On Capitol Hill, I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
An American soldier has been arrested in North Korea after crossing the border into the country willfully without authorization. Officials have identified that soldier as Private Second Class Travis King, who is in his early 20s. King was just released from a South Korean prison where he was held on assault charges and faced military disciplinary actions in the U.S. He was supposed to be boarding a plane back to the United States, but instead joined a Korean tour and ran across the border.
I'm absolutely foremost concerned about the welfare of our troops. And so we will remain focused on this. And again, this will develop in the next several days and hours.
The House Judiciary Committee may hold Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg in contempt of Congress. According to committee chair Jim Jordan, the parent company of Facebook and the new app Threads has not handed over the internal documents that may show the company has censored content. Jordan says in an interview with Fox News that he recently sent Zuckerberg a letter about his concerns.
We don't want this to be going on. This is a direct attack on the First Amendment, and we want the information we've asked for months ago. And if they don't give it to us, we can move ahead with contempt if we need to.
Fox says a Meta spokesperson responded that the company has shared more than 50,000 pages of documents and made nearly a dozen people available to talk about any issues. Johnson & Johnson suing the Biden administration over Medicare's new authority to cut drug prices. It's the third drug company to challenge this provision of the Inflation Reduction Act. J&J wants a judge to stop HHS, or Health and Human Services, from requiring the company to participate, arguing the Medicare negotiations violate the Constitution. The National Desk taking the pulse of America, and we begin now with street signs changing colors in California.
It's one more reminder that you're in Fresno when the street sign is green. Now more than 100 residential and 20 signs at intersections have changed colors. Only a few are in between colors. Most are now black.
There was a period of time where some of the developer-installed signs did not have the proper sheeting to protect them against ultraviolet rays.
City of Fresno has an oversized printer that makes most of the street signs in town. But with new residential neighborhoods popping up all over the city, Public Works handed over sign making to developers.
They appeared properly at the beginning, but they're having a much shorter lifespan, and they're going to be due for replacement then much sooner.
Over to Corning, California now. Pacific Gas and Electric, or PG&E, has announced a groundbreaking pilot program using remote-controlled equipment to reduce the risk of wildfires.
We're using them with a couple of other pilots. Each one of their technologies is remote control. It's really, really impressive. I was excited to see how it worked.
These remote masticators, as you see here, can work in remote and challenging terrain to clear brush and grass in high fire threat areas. PG&E is also exploring other measures like expanding remote microgrids and new controlled burn technology called BurnBot. The company was previously blamed for wildfires in California as their lines touched trees and brush.
A Metro bus driver allegedly calls out the wrong street name, and that's all it takes for an irate passenger to let rip. Police say Matthew Harkins was riding the number 24 bus in Mount Washington Saturday night when he starts beating the bus driver and calling him racial slurs. 2 hours before, police say J.B. Privet punched and kicked another bus driver in the head and over the Rhine. And that same day, a third attack on a bus driver in St. Bernard.
Demand for frozen food is surging, and it could threaten supply chains. During the pandemic in 2020, sales topped $65 billion. That's according to the American Frozen Food Institute. And in 2022, they hit more than $72 billion. That growth is expected to continue, but industry experts warn that we'll need more storage capacity and more efficient supply chain to keep up. Coming up here on the National Desk, a nationwide program saving lives and money, yet many who qualify don't even know it exists. We're back in 90 seconds with the details. The White House is investing an additional $50 million in treatment for substance abuse disorders. Earlier today, Vice President Kamala Harris discussing this program with attorneys general from all across the country. The vice president highlighting the growing impact of fentanyl and opioids across the U.S.
Country to accurately and appropriately talk about what substance use addiction really is. It's a healthcare issue. We must destigmatize this issue. We must remove judgment from this issue. We must understand that most people don't choose to have a substance abuse disorder.
Fentanyl is the leading cause of deaths in people 18 to 42. Federal, state, and local government agencies are working together to address the underlying issue of addiction. The White House is also taking steps to equip states to expand access to treatment and affordability to life-saving drugs such as naloxone. Early detection is the #1 way to beat most cancers, and a yearly screening is available at no cost to detect lung cancer. Many people who qualify for it don't even know it's available. Medical reporter Liz Bonas shares how it's all part of the White Ribbon Project.
Hey there, everybody. The White Ribbon Project promotes awareness about lung cancer by changing the public perception of this disease. Without that change...
Oh, well, thank you for saving my life.
You're so welcome.
Those such as Luann Beeson might never step up to get this life-saving lung cancer screening. It's part of a national program available at no cost anywhere in the country to those who meet certain criteria. As Dr. Michael Gieske of Kentucky's St. Elizabeth Cancer Center showed me,
we've now done over 35,000 lung cancer screens.
What you can't see on an X-ray, you can see on this low-dose CT screening test. On Luann's,
they found a spot on my lung right around Thanksgiving.
Because that spot was so small,
early detection, surgery, I'm cancer-free.
Through our screening program, we've now found about 540 lung cancers.
What's remarkable, Dr. Gieske told me, is that since the start of this program,
60% of the lung cancers that we found are in stage 1.
And that's where the White Ribbon Project comes in. You see, when Luann had her cancer diagnosis,
I didn't want to tell anybody because I was ashamed, because I feel like I caused it.
You see, even though she was a smoker, the project focuses on reducing the stigma of lung cancer, and here's why.
Not all lung cancer is due to smoking. 80% of lung cancer we see is due to smoking, but 20% is not. And it's important to get that message out there that anyone with lungs can get lung cancer.
Now, you too may qualify for that same lung cancer screening that Luann had. If you're between the ages of 50 and 80, you have a history of smoking at least a pack a day for 20 years, or you smoked within the last 15 years. Your primary care doctor can help you assess your risk and refer you to a provider. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Back to you.
After the break, Taylor Swift continuing to top the charts, the latest record broken by the superstar when we come back. What can't Taylor Swift do? She's breaking records again. According to Billboard, Speak Now, Taylor's version, is the pop singer's 12th album to reach #1, the most by any female artist in history. Barbra Streisand held the previous record with 11 albums. Taylor Swift, also the first living artist in nearly 60 years with 4 albums in the top 10 at the same time, and the first woman and living solo artist to have 11 albums concurrently charting on the Billboard 200. Wow, what a career. That's all for now. Join me tonight for the evening edition of the National Desk. You want to check your local listings for the exact time. I'm Eugene Ramirez. Thanks for watching. See you soon.